Night written only for us. The rain had just stopped when Ayaan first noticed her. The city lights shimmered on the wet streets, turning the ordinary evening into something magical. Ayaan stood under the soft glow of a street lamp, adjusting the sleeves of his sweater, waiting for the last bus home. It was late, and the world felt quieter than usual, as if the night had taken a deep breath and decided to slow down. That was when he saw her. She was standing a few steps away, near a small bookstore that was about to close. Her name, he would later learn, was Mare. She held a book close to her chest, her fingers tracing its edges as if it carried a secret meant only for her. A strand of her hair had slipped across her face, and she gently brushed it aside, looking up at the sky as if searching for something written among the stars. Their eyes met for a brief second. It was the kind of moment that feels small but changes everything. Neither of them looked away immediately. Instead, there was a silent conversation, a question hanging in the air. "Do you feel it too?" The bus arrived, its headlights cutting through the softness of the night. Ayaan hesitated. He could step forward, say something simple like hello, or he could let the moment slip away forever. His heart beat louder than the engine of the bus. Before he could lose his courage, he walked toward her. "You dropped this," he said, even though she hadn't. It was the only line his nervous mind could create. She smiled, a little amused but not unkind. "I think I'm still holding it." He laughed, embarrassed. "Right. I just didn't want to miss the chance to talk to you." There was honesty in his voice, and she noticed it. "I'm Mare," she said softly. "Ayaan." The bus doors closed and drove away without him. He didn't care. Somehow, staying felt more important. They began walking together without deciding to. The street was calm, washed clean by rain, reflecting the moon like a silver mirror. They talked about small things at first. The book she was holding. His job at a nearby cafe. Her dream of becoming a writer. His secret wish to open a place where people could sit and tell stories all night. The more they spoke, the more the world seemed to fade. The noise of the city disappeared. Even time felt less urgent. "Do you ever feel," Mare said after a while, "like some nights are written specially for someone?" Ayaan looked at her, surprised. "Like they're not random?" "Yes. Like they're meant." He smiled slowly. "Maybe this is one of those nights." They stopped walking at the same time, realizing they had reached a quiet park. The trees stood tall and still, their leaves glistening with leftover rain. A wooden bench waited under a lamppost, glowing softly as if inviting them to sit. They did. The silence between them was no longer awkward. It was warm and full. Mare opened her book, revealing a blank page at the back. "I always keep one page empty," she explained. "For a memory worth writing." Ayaan felt his heart tighten in the most beautiful way. "And is tonight worth it?" She looked at him, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. "I think it might be." She handed him the pen. His fingers brushed against hers, and that simple touch sent a quiet electricity through both of them. He thought carefully before writing. "Night written only for us." He handed the book back to her. Mare read the words slowly, as if tasting them. A gentle smile formed on her lips, the kind that begins in the heart and reaches the eyes. "You really believe that?" she asked. "I do," he replied. "Out of all the places we could have been tonight, we ended up here. Together." She closed the book and placed it between them. "What if it's just coincidence?" "Then it's the most beautiful coincidence I've ever known." The wind moved softly around them, carrying the faint scent of rain and earth. Somewhere in the distance, a train passed, its sound low and steady. The world continued, unaware that something extraordinary was happening in a quiet corner of the park. They spoke about their fears. Mare feared being forgotten, of writing words that no one would ever read. Ayaan feared living an ordinary life without ever taking risks. "You took one tonight," she said gently. "Which one?" "Talking to me." He laughed. "That didn't feel like a risk. It felt necessary." The truth of that sentence settled between them. Hours passed without them noticing. The moon climbed higher, then began its slow descent. The air grew cooler, and Mare wrapped her arms around herself. Without thinking, Ayaan removed his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. She hesitated for a moment before accepting it. "Thank you," she whispered. He looked at her, memorizing the way the light touched her face, the way her eyes softened when she smiled. He knew, even in that fragile early stage, that this was not something ordinary. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was gentle, real. "Will I see you again?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Mare considered the question, then opened her book once more. She tore a small piece from the blank page beside the line he had written and scribbled her number on it. "If the night was truly written for us," she said, handing it to him, "then this is just the first chapter." He took the paper carefully, as if it were made of glass. They walked back toward the main road together, slower this time. Neither of them wanted the night to end. When they reached the corner where their paths separated, they stopped. For a second, the world felt suspended. "I'm glad you missed your bus," she said softly. "So am I." There were 1,000 things he wanted to say, but none of them felt as honest as the simple truth in his chest. "Good night, Mare." "Good night, Ayaan." She turned and began walking away. After a few steps, she looked back. He was still there, watching her, smiling in disbelief at what had just unfolded. As she disappeared around the corner, Ayaan looked up at the sky. The stars seemed brighter than before. He realized something then. The night had not been loud or extraordinary in the way movies describe. There were no grand gestures, no dramatic confessions. Just two strangers who chose to speak instead of staying silent. Sometimes, that is enough. He slipped the piece of paper safely into his wallet and began walking home, feeling lighter than he had in years. Behind him, the street lamp flickered gently, illuminating the empty bench in the park. The world would wake up in a few hours, unaware that under its quiet sky, a story had begun. A story not written in fate or coincidence alone, but in courage, honesty, and the simple decision to stay. A night written only for them.